so they don't disturb us. And wait, let me change this to gallery view. Right. Share the link, everyone. Here you go. Okay. So I think we'll have a few people joining us soon. Let me manage to put this chat screen. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, let me introduce Caruso anyway. While we're at it. So firstly, this is a very informal session, so the introduction is going to be informal as well. A lot of people that I know tend to call me as someone who knows everything about everything. And I can tell you that I think that Caruso is someone that knows everything about everything. So he's been a dental technician, he's been a musician, he's been a hypnotherapist, an awesome, super highly educated hypnotherapist for the last decade or so. And now he's learning the Bhagavad Gita. I'm pretty sure very soon he will know more about it than I do. So did I miss anything, Caruso?
You're always too nice, Ashwita. I can say the same about you. I mean, you are really, really clever, and always you can say something in a way that it inspires me a lot. So always a pleasure.
So, well, yeah, so I was telling you about the too much noise bit, right? So it was Caruso's idea to call these sessions Too Much Noise. And as luck would have it, all day today, I've had too much noise. This is India, so there's a new temple that came up right outside the house. And they've been blaring loudspeakers the whole evening yesterday, all the way until 10:30. And then, oh my God. And then today they started at 6:30. They went on like full blast mantras and everything all the way till 9:30, and then like a half-hour break, I think, for breakfast. And then they start again at 10. And then I thought can't get any worse than that. And then they start film music in the afternoon. And then I was really like, just kill me. But it was strange. And maybe I should see my chart for this. But it was driving me crazy. I had like a headache from the stress because it was too loud, like the volume that I would listen to TV at, it was just too loud. And I was like just so disturbed. And all of a sudden I was just suddenly okay with it. But I was thinking about the topic as well, I was like, because a part of me wanted to fight back. It gets so angry at the injustice of it, because like you listening is one sense organ that you cannot touch or switch off, right? So being forced to listen to things that I don't want to listen to, and clearly on a level that is painful, makes me want to fight. But then the other part of me is like, just surrender. Do you really have to make such a big, do you really have to fight this so hard? Is it really as big a deal? So that was the theme of my day. Should life be a battlefield, or is it just a journey? Yeah. So I was thinking, because I have my views, but why don't you start? Should life be a battlefield, or should we see it as a journey?
In the Gita, as you know, they uh, engage in a battlefield. Arjuna and Sri Krishna, they are in a battlefield. And someone says that life, it's kind of a battlefield. But if you, my perspective is, if you feel it like a battlefield, you always try to fight back. You always try to win. You always try to offend before defend yourself. I mean, it's matter of who is better, who is stronger, who is the winner, and this is stress itself, because life would be better if we live in peace, and we know that. Beside that, it's curious what you said, because a few days ago I posted something on my Facebook profile asking people, does people who shout, have really loud voice, annoying you? And all of them, they say yes. It's a kind of imposition, superimposition. It's kind of a pressure, because if you shout, your voice, it's a wave, it's pressing more and more into your ear, into your skin. So it's kind of violent, and also is distracting mind. It pop ups in my mind that mind itself can be confusing. If you distract or confuse your mind, it becomes confusing you even more. So I believe that's why lots of swamis, lots of gurus, they stay in quiet places where just nature can breathe and say whatever it says, a wave or a river or leaves, or rain. But it's a different environment for our ear. So I agree 100% with you. If someone has the radio, the stereo too high, or they pass by with the car, boom, 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 I feel it like an aggression. And the first step usually is I fight back. And in Italy, we tend to go at the window and I shout at them, "Shut up! Why you do like this?" And all of a sudden you say, "Oh, I'm shouting as well. I'm shouting as well." So it's not fair. How did you solve this problem of today?
I did not do anything because I think they have a festival. So I think it will only be a couple of days, I hope. But yeah, I mean, it's at least it's quiet at the moment. So I'm just praying that we're done, like done, done. Worst case, they start again tomorrow. It's the weekend. So yeah, I mean, if they start tomorrow again, I'll just run off to a friend's place, maybe, because I was fine for the rest of the day today. It's funny because you fight back and I usually don't. And yet here you're saying life shouldn't be a battlefield. Now I'm like, life is a battlefield. And I think for Italians and Indians, life is a battlefield, more or less. I think Scandinavians can say, no, life is a journey. Everything moves peacefully. Nobody bothers you. Nobody disturbs you. Indians know there's no scope of journey anywhere. Like, there's, even if you go driving, there's like bumps in front of my high school. There's a bump, like, I don't think, like, I'm not kidding you. That's how high the bump on the road is. Your car, it feels like you're on the ocean. You go like that, and then you go like that down. And yeah, so I mean, literally, even a journey in India is a battlefield. But see, the beauty, in my opinion, over here is um, that's precisely the point, the whole stress aspect of it. Because I think in life scenarios, a battlefield would be probably at the top of that level of stress. I mean, it's the most stressful environment. And what happens in stressful environments, we drop down to our default behaviors, right? The brain does not work. And that is when God steps in and tells him to do the right thing. So actually, I don't think, I don't know if you know this, but in the Mahabharata, in all our scriptures, and even before, I think it's before the Muslims started attacking, India has always had very strict rules by which wars were fought. Like it would be specifically in a battlefield, and you don't attack at these times, and you don't, what they're doing now. I'm not very familiar with technical terms, but I think the way wars are fought now used to be called guerrilla warfare back then, because it's war without any rules, and now they've like broken our rules. Nobody cares anymore. It's only the international police that's like, hey, you don't do this, you don't do that. But nobody really, they're trying to break the rules. There's no honor in warfare anymore. But the warriors of those times, there was honor. Like if your enemy is lying half dead in front of you, you have the opportunity to kill him, you will not do it even if nobody's watching, because you're answerable to yourself. So it's, I still don't see it. Even if life is viewed as a battlefield, I still don't see it as something that you go around fighting with everyone. Because my experience, I think you've done martial arts as well, right? Yeah, so in martial arts that I think people who learn martial arts are typically more calm than people who don't. Because you're so strong, you don't care. So I think if you see life as a battlefield, you'll just, go around saying, not a warrior, not a warrior, not a warrior, does not have weapons, I can't attack him. And I mean that literally does happen in my life. A long time ago, one of my teachers had said, in class, he'd said, because he has all these psychic abilities, he said, yeah, I know when people are cheating me. And people are like, then so what do you do? He said, I let them cheat me. Why? And he said, because it's unfair. Like we're not on the same level. I know more than he does, and it's just unfair. And I was like, you just out of your mind at that point. And now I've come to realize that I do let people cheat me, even though I know it's happening. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay, do it anyway. I know what to do. It's crazy. So you're fine with it.
Talking about cheating and relation with karma, if you cheat, it comes back to you. So sometimes doing my job, I can calibrate my clients, and I know if they tell me the truth, if they lying to me. And I tell them, sometimes I will tell you, you're lying to me, don't do it. And sometimes I will not telling you, because it's bad for you, and that's it. If you want to lie to yourself, you're hiding something, but in somehow also that thing, it's violent. So we should maybe define what a battlefield is and what are the rules, because maybe battlefield, there is two fighters, they have honor and they battle. But if we associate a battlefield with violences, there are lots of violences in this world, a lot. And we do have violence inside as well. We fight against ourselves, our parts. So maybe it's definition of battlefield that is different, because I'm trying. You said I'm studying Bhagavad Gita, yeah, almost there. Anyway, but it's really hard for me because I'm not. I mean, I'm Italian. I'm not from India. Yeah. So, but what I understand is that Arjuna was a warrior, and I believe it's correct to say that warriors was the second caste in India. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So in somehow they were important. They had a life journey, they had a purpose in life to protect, to be there when it's the moment. But it's really difficult if you say to people it's a battlefield, life it's a battlefield. In general, I believe people tend to perceive violence, tend to perceive, oh, everybody is trying to cheat me, everybody is trying to get inside of my space, which is kind of like this somehow in Italy. People is trying always to steal a little bit from you.
It's very, very interesting you say that, because this reminds me, I think this is a fundamental cultural difference, because this is something I talk about in my Reiki classes as well, that the Western system is solar plexus based. Like even the fighting styles in the West, they're all from the solar plexus. If you look at WWF, it's all about triggering aggression and stuff like that, right? Whereas, have you seen the Karate Kid? The whole point, like in Asian cultures, India and Asia, if you basically get your opponent riled up, they've lost. If you get them angry or they lose their cool, they've lost. So if you actually see genuinely as an Indian or a Chinese person, you see the world as a battlefield, you are never going to afford to lose your cool. You fight with complete zen. So if life is a battlefield, as an Indian, you're never going to lose your cool.
I never thought about that way, but it makes sense if you structure it like this, if you frame it like that. And yeah, still to me it's really hard to believe that people are born just to fight or just to be in a battlefield. But I mean, wars, battlefield, we have it every time, everywhere in this planet. So it is common, but still it doesn't make any sense to me. And fighting instead of trying to find a solution. I had an argument. Yeah, I had an argument about talking to have the right. I mean, I'm shouting and I say, I'm the right one because I said something right. So you're wrong, I'm right. And when people start to speak with me, like to have the right, I say, you're right, you have it. I don't fight. I mean, no. It's like, I believe Gandhi said something like this. If you want to punch someone, in somehow you're gonna hurt your knuckle, you're gonna hurt yourself in somehow. So why this fighting?
No, see, but that's the thing again, if you are in a battlefield and you have some stray fool walking into the battlefield and poking a kitchen knife at you, are you going to bother fighting with him? You're going to be like, just move away, dude. Like you don't count. So when you see life as a real battlefield, it's not about fighting, actually, because battles are about strategizing, it's about implementing the plan, it's about cold, calm, collected action. Basically, action completely uninfluenced by emotion. That's exactly what Krishna is telling him, right? Yes, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, that's my uncle, that's my cousin, that's my this, that's my that, and that's my teacher. How am I going to kill them? Um, but there he's like, no, you do your duty. So that's what it really means, essentially. So do your duty.
it made sense if he was a soldier, not a soldier, because I believe he was a king or something like this. In the second chapter, they treat,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, he was saying no, but if I win, basically, I killed. It means that I have to kill all my family, so there's no win. And Krishna was saying, no, you have to do your duty because you have this journey. So in somehow it relates with be yourself. And the battlefield is trying to uh, fight against not yourself. So it's really difficult embrace ourselves and show up and say, okay, this is me, this is my point of view, I'm gonna share it with you, and yada yada. And it it is really difficult because you encounter limitation, you encounter anxiety, stress, other perspective. They, yeah, yeah. I believe the translation in Italian battlefield, it triggers, at least in me, that kind of violence, that kind of competition, which I agree with just if it's for good. You know, I don't like to compete, but I understand if we try to do our best and we compete to have the best to serve others. So in that way, it's fine. It's a positive competition, but it's so difficult nowadays. I mean, um, I did a podcast on that. I mean, winning, always winning. It's not about staying in the contest, staying, participate. Yeah. We used to say the important is participate. If you don't have participants, there's not even one winner because there's no participant. But nowadays it seems like winning, just winning. It's important, just winning. So you have the first and the other ones are nothing. And that's why maybe the term battlefield, it triggers me in this way. But I understand completely your point, and it's a nice point. If you take it like honor, if you take it like I take in consideration that we have something to do. It's really hard. It's like a battle, but it's more like a battle with yourself, trying to do something instead of mm, being violent with others. And I believe it was Lao Tse that he was saying the best winning is the one not fought. So if you strategize so much that your enemy now he cannot do nothing, you win not even fighting, which is wow, 100% cool.
Yeah, also I was thinking, I think there's this confusion that I think most people have. First of all, I'm really glad that you mentioned that because I would never have thought of a battlefield the way you've expressed it, so that does bring the attention to how dangerous it can be to just throw that out there, life is a battlefield. Well, but people have forgotten, I think, the difference between a fighter and a warrior. The Gita is not inviting you to fight. You're confusing that with the fighting. And I think I am just saying this from my understanding of what we've learned in history in school, um, world history and stuff. But as much as I remember, European fighting was about greed. It was just about greed. And that is why it's triggering you, because for you, wars and battlefields are about this sick, insatiable greed, you know. Whereas a lot of the battles in India were about it was about principles, it was about protecting one's people, and it was about valor and honor and duty and stuff like that. Like we've had stories. One story we learned in even school uh, was someone. I think they're just about 200 kilometers from where I grew up. There was this conspiracy to kill the whole royal family, and the last one to be killed was the baby. And in the nick of time, the babysitter, the caretaker of the child, basically grabs the child, and she, very bravely, I mean, she risks her own life to protect the baby. What does she get out of that? I mean, here's a woman who is not actually a warrior, but she was acting like one. So that's a warrior. It's about principles, and I think most people forget that, because nobody is like all the things that you're telling me, right? They're about fighting. It's not about fighting. It's about mm, fearlessly, following and upholding your principles, because people don't do that. And the Gita itself is misrepresented so horribly these days. I saw a very apt picture. I don't remember if I sent it to you. A very apt picture, yesterday on Facebook. I think it was by Narsimha Rao, the astrologer. And he was mentioning how the Gita promotes Nishkam Karma, which is, detached action, the right action with detachment. But he was like, you don't get this in India anymore. You get Sakam Karma, I think, which is action with attachment, and Nishkam Nishkarma, which is they just don't even take action. And the saddest part is this Nishkam Nishkarma, right? Not taking action at all, because this is my destiny, surrendering, is such nonsense. Like when people should be stepping up and taking action, they're just like, oh, it's just God's will, and then when they should not be fighting, when they should be surrendering, then they're fighting. So it's like so messed up right now. Not a battlefield, just fighters, you know.
Yeah, it seems like it's easier fight for a scratch in a car instead of fighting for justice. And you were defining a nice picture in my mind. Thank you so much, because you see, you can say complicated thing in the simple way, and I like it so much. So I was writing that there is lots of differences in fighting for an injustice. I mean, you see something is not fair and you're fighting, yeah? And you find yourself in a battlefield when you honor your values, when you honor someone that is the other side, and you say, no, this is not fair. We shouldn't do that. And in somehow, yes, of course, in the end, you fight. In the battlefield, you have to, in somehow. I mean, Arjuna had the arch and the arrow, so in somehow. But it's different. As you said, Europeans, they were destroying lots of cultures, a lot. I mean, they were invading, conquering. They were fighting to have something out of, which I believe I was relating to, and that's so sad, because in somehow it's difficult to go out this conditioning in my mind. That's why you were saying battlefield, and tuck, I was triggered in that mode. Yeah. And you are right. Now I understand also why the Gita it's been placed in that context, which, I follow Sarvapriyananda, Swami Sarvapriyananda. He was saying that you shouldn't attach the Gita with violence. In no way the Bhagavad Gita is trying to show violence. and he was saying, referring to the battlefield as metaphor of life. And yeah, now I understand more of this. And you see, sometimes even if I study, not being in that culture, it's really difficult to understand something so particular. And what I found out in the last 10 days is that it's really sad, but a guy was saying, Indian people lost lots of their culture. They try to be much more Westerner than the culture they were from. And this is so bad because in India, I mean, before Muslim and then English people, they did so many wrong things to do to Indian culture. But at least we have lots and lots of books. How do you call that? Scriptures, holy
The
scriptures.
epics. The epics, yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
I
it's
could be
different.
wrong, but I think the Mahabharata is 18 volumes. Could be wrong. No, the Gita has 18 chapters, but it's several volumes.
Yeah, but the journey from Vedas to Upanishad to Purana, and in between the Gita, and I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And you see, I was lost just in that sentences. Life is a battlefield, and we are trying to understand something out of it. I believe someone said it takes many lives to understand everything that is written inside of Vedas in general. Yeah. So I believe it's unfair because anytime, yeah, come on, anytime that you're born again, you forget everything and you start from scratch. Obviously, with a spike of different consciousness, but it's really really hard. Yeah.
No, you do remember. I mean, obviously, you don't remember the specific information, but everything that you've imbibed does carry on. Uh, but yeah, maybe I don't know if I've already told you this before, but uh, maybe it will help to understand the four sections of the society in this context. Like, that the society is divided into four sections, right? The Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. So they messed up big time because they only took it with the bloodline, which is crazy, you know. But the real word is Varna, which I don't know. I think you can roughly say something like basic nature, something like that. Who you are. So, depending on, and you can see this in the astrological chart as well. What's the basic nature? Is that of a Kshatriya, which is a warrior, or what? So the Brahmins basically are the teachers, the caretakers, the healers, those that just give, you know. And I mean, in our society, they did not even charge a fee. Eh, Um, they could ask you back, they could ask you for anything at the end, but it was never about money. And the whole society would be like supporting them. They were supported by everybody else, the healers, the doctors, the teachers, they were supported by everyone else in the society, yeah, there's a comment, basic temperament is what Varna is. Oh, the music has started again. Can you hear that? No, thank God. Yeah. So it's loud movie music. Oh my God. Okay. Where was I?
You were describing those four categories, castes of
Yes.
Indian
Yeah. So the Brahmins
society.
are those that teach and everything, and then there's the Kshatriyas are actually described as people who uphold the rights of the weak.
Mm.
So now this is very interesting, and then of course the businessmen are, those that provide for the society, and Shudras are the ones that make it inhabitable, basically.
Mm. But the last one are people who work with the hand, they build
Yes.
something, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The people who clean the city and all of that,
Mm, mm.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're the most important. If they don't exist, we really saw that in the COVID. I'm glad, because
Yeah.
most people don't realize the value of the people who keep the city clean.
Yeah, but you see, lots of people, they believe those division in caste, they are like the best and then the worst below. I don't feel it like this. I feel it in
So,
the same place, and they interlace and
yeah.
interact each other, because there's, I mean,
That is one European thing that I really like, seeing everybody as an equal, like you're a servant, so what? It doesn't make you inferior, it doesn't make you less. I mean, you're basically indispensable. I think most people, like a software engineer, if they leave a job, I don't think they're missed for a single day. But try asking someone what happens when your maid leaves. It stops, your whole life comes to grinding fault. Who's more important? You're replaceable if you're a software engineer. You're not replaceable if you're a maid.
we have um, a nice picture, which is a kind of a joke, because also in our culture, when we eat, we should thank God.
Right.
Yeah. So there's this picture of the family eating, and they say thanks God, and then pop ups the farmer and say, oh, you're welcome, because it's the farmer providing everything for us to eat. So it's switching. You don't think up, you think horizontal, not vertical.
I love that so much. Yeah. Yeah.
And that one, it triggers me. I like the Advaita Vedanta philosophy. It triggers me in, I mean, you find God in everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that one, another meeting as well. Okay.
Yeah.
It's that part. We don't go that path today, otherwise too much.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise, it'll become a 3-hour conversation.
yeah, but yesterday I was trying to find something about yoga, and I was studying, yeah, and I found this little sentence, but it says a lot. And you were saying something about the mind is distracted, noise is distracting the mind, and the mind can distract yourself, because we are not the mind, we use the mind. We should use the mind. And talking about Raja Yoga, they say Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Is that said good?
Pretty well. Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
And
pretty
and
close.
and the definition, it was so surprising me. I mean, the stop of the fluctuation of the mind, the wandering, but be focused, be concentrated. It seems is the right opposite of what we're doing every day. Every bling, every ring of the mobile, every pop-ups, it's distracting us. The more you distract yourself, the more you lose yourself in distraction. Is a chain of event that it's amplified. So in this manner, yoga is really something interesting. I have to dig in even more, because we said already that yoga is not about asana or positioning or just physics stuff. It's a long journey, and we in Italy, we basically don't know that much.
Yeah, it's very interesting because something happened with my mate yesterday. Uh, she was seeing me painting, right? And I was hunched over the table like that. So, and the table is still a little better for my posture, but if I'm doing alcoholics on the floor, then I'm sitting on the floor and I'm like hunched over, you know? So she sees me like that all the time. And yesterday she's like, doesn't your back hurt? You're like this all the time. Doesn't your back hurt? You know? And I was like, no. And then there are these moments, you know, where I just end up saying something that I don't know what I'm saying. And then I hear it and I'm like, wow, where did that come from? So that was one of those moments because I just told her it's yoga, right? Because what's asana? Asana, normally people think of yoga asana as yoga poses, right? But really, asana means a posture. That's all it means. Yoga asana. So I said, when I'm sitting, I'm in an asana. And every yoga asana has a counter posture. So all I do once in a while is because I'm hunched forward, once in a while I do that. And I'm doing the counter posture. So my sitting is yoga. And I was like, wait, where did that come from? You know, I wasn't thinking, it just like came out, you know. So yeah, I mean, yoga chitta vritti nirodha is like, you know, and they're talking about the balancing of or the merging of all aspects of the being, but it's also all moments in time, you know. When I knew nothing about yoga and when I'd gone to a yoga class way back, I think in 2004 or something, um, they were these amazing traditional teachers, you know, and it's a huge class. And the moment we all go inside and we settle down, and the teacher says, just observe the way you guys left your shoes at the door. Yoga is not just in the hall. Yoga is every moment of your life. You know, if you can't leave your footwear in yoga, you're not doing any yoga, you know, you're just doing exercise. So this is in my mind, it's a huge difference. You know, what most people are doing for me is just exercise. I don't call it yoga at all. I mean, for me, I've met only one teacher that I count as doing actual yoga. You know, everybody else, I'm like, sorry, that's exercise. Not enough awareness.
But beside being flexible and be healthy in the body, it's fine. I mean, we have to move somehow. Following Swami Sarvapriyananda, he always spend the time talking about yoga, which is a journey. It's not just about a position. And he's talking about karma yoga a lot, also because in the Gita, they relate about doing something. And if you do something because it has to be done good, and you have devotion, and you treat what you do, and you give it, quote unquote, to God or to whatever you believe, it becomes something even more spiritual. And you call it bhakti. I believe it's bhakti yoga. So
Yeah.
it becomes devotional. And then out of that, if you start to understand something and you have knowledge, it becomes jnana yoga. So it
Yeah.
was saying, in the Western mind, everything is divided, but it's
Yeah.
not. We should take in consideration that when you search inside, everything is attached. So, you know, we already spoken about this. I believe that dividing it's fine to understand, but then you have to be courage to put that together and see if it's thick or it's dividing itself. Yeah. So it seems now to me that yoga, it's really something different, lot, very different to what we see. There are lots of people, they stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, in India. I don't even know where, because India is huge. And they come back and they say, I'm a master yoga practitioner. I can tell you what to do. And because, I'm a breath coach. Yeah. And lots of times pop up this pranayama, which is a long journey itself, very much older than asana. Asana comes from, I believe, 300, 400 years. Pranayama is like 3,000 years.
Wow.
So it's confusing people. And I don't understand why. I mean, we take in consideration names just because they are exotic, and then we create businesses on it. I mean, if I could be an Indian person, I would be really offended for that. How would you take this? I mean, I'm not taking violence inside, but I mean, because the core of your culture is so powerful and someone is selling nothing.
Yeah, it's
How do you?
disturbing, but it's happening in India as well. So I don't
Oh,
really blame the West. Yeah, it's a lot of nonsense happens in India as well. So you say people are people everywhere. So right now it's the general deterioration of character. So I don't think people even know right from wrong anymore. My brother, like I knew this in a more subconscious way, but he keeps saying it over and over and over, and it's just kind of drilled it into my head now, that when you do something wrong, you slowly start to lose perspective of what is right and what is wrong. Like um before he came over, right, I used to think of it in my head as a zero tolerance. I was like, you have to have a zero tolerance policy for dishonesty, not other people's dishonesty, but your own dishonesty with other people and with yourself. And I'm not counting lying to people for like to people that don't matter, right? That's a whole other thing. But dishonesty, like I said, in terms of principle, right, that honor the principles, all of that, uh you have to have a zero tolerance policy, because the moment you start making a small deviation, you just like, let me make a 1% deviation over here. uh, that 1% become 1.5% at some point, and you don't notice. It becomes 1.75, you don't notice, it becomes 2, and then from 2 it reaches 98, and then it crosses 100, it becomes 200. Eventually you don't have a clue, you just don't realize. And when this happens, then you don't have any assessment of what is right and what is wrong. It was in a discussion yesterday again on Facebook that somebody just responded. They were like, they said something that uh, even the right intentions can be extremely dangerous if it comes with a lack of understanding. Like, for example, I see this everywhere in India, right? Parents forcing their child to get married. Very well intentioned, completely screwed up understanding. So you're going to ruin your child's life, but the intentions are good.
I
So
tell you
that's
something
what.
else about that. In Italy, our parents says, finish everything that you have in your plate. You have to finish it. Otherwise, it's a sin. Otherwise, it's
Very Indian
not
also.
good. Yeah. Yeah. But we know about food. Indian and Italian are really connected. So, and basically, they don't ask the child, what do you feel? I mean, perceive your appetite, perceive if it's enough or not. They just saying, finish your dish. And I believe behind there is a good intention, but see what happens. I mean, you have a portion, you finish it, even if you are full up, you say, when you eat too
Yeah,
much.
completely full. Yeah.
Yeah, but you eat it anyway, and your body has to suffer for that.
And I'll
So
come
I
back.
agree.
I'll come back to the topic with this, you know. So if you are a parent and you are a warrior, not a fighter, but if you are a warrior, what does a warrior do? It protects the rights of the weak. So you're going to protect the rights of your baby. And that's the one thing I think, especially in Indian culture, I think it must be similar in Italy, but definitely in Indian culture, it's just so normal to violate a baby, you know. Looks like some spam on the YouTube. Who is that? Report.
Spam everywhere.
Yeah.
I've seen there are lots of people commenting, and I cannot
Yeah.
keep the track because they writing really, really fast. Let's see if someone has to say something important or ask something.
Everyone is quiet. Yeah. So what I was saying was, it's so rampant, you know, this violation of the rights of the baby. And I mean, I was exposed to a very new idea recently when I was having a conversation with my sister, because she's exposed to a lot of variety of upbringing, right? With her multicultural experience. And she was saying that she's seen parents uh, who just don't feed their children at all. They just put them in front of the plate and let them eat by themselves. I have seen this once in my life in Sweden, and I was mortified because it was a restaurant and there was rice everywhere. Like there was rice on his face and his hair and his clothes on the table. And like, it's just like, it was a 1-year-old baby feeding himself. How would they do that, you know? So, but they don't feed their children. The children feed themselves. So it's a gigantic mess in the beginning. But in the end, by the time they're 2 or 3, they're really effective at eating because you let them learn on their own, you know. Whereas in contrast, in India, you're feeding the child, you know, feeding, and there's 5 or 6 is still feeding, and they just take one bite and they're like, and the food is sitting there 1 hour, and the parents like, please hurry up, please, I need to get you to school. So I think we really, really need to upgrade from bullies to warriors, you know, because bullying is what weak people do. And we bully our children most of the times, especially young kids. So
It's it's true.
yeah.
It reminds me my mom that when you go there to eat and you almost finish your dish, but you have still something to finish. She stand up, she take the pants and gives you others. I say, I'm not even finished. Why you go eat? You have to eat.
They're
Italian culture
expecting you to
about eating.
they're expecting to eat like a warrior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, do you think someone has something to say, or there are few comments or something?
Doesn't look like it there. They did have some comments in the middle. Indra said she's loving this conversation. She's just listening. It's so simple to understand.
Oh,
And Shilpa has mentioned about another. We have several stories about warrior women. And she has mentioned, I vaguely remember studying this at some point, the story of Pannadai, who replaces the prince with her own son, and her son is killed, you know, because they were trying to kill a child, the prince, and she puts her own baby there in order to protect the prince. That has happened too, you know. So we have all these, like we grew up, you know, the West grows up with Cinderella who needs a prince to rescue her. Indians,
Yeah.
Indians that grow up on Indian stories, they grow up with, Jhansi ki Rani. That's the woman who went and, her husband dies, I think, and so she goes and fights in the battle. She leads the army herself with her baby
Mm.
tied to her,
Mm.
body. We grew up with stories like that.
Well, but to be honest, Shweta, we have those stories as well, but more and
Yeah.
more they disappear in time. Yeah.
Yeah.
They decrease as value. So, as I told you, my age, our parents used to say the important that you participate to something. Yeah. Participate, be
Yeah.
part of something. And nowadays they say, no, the important is winning. You have to win, otherwise you're no one. So in few generation, those kind of way to think, they change dramatically. And beside what you said, Cinderella or Walt Disney, we could go on and on and on the story of Walt Disney. He was really genius for something, but he forced us to think something which is not that good, beside the subliminal messages that they were
Yeah.
inside of those cartoons. So
Yeah.
yeah, but we have those kind of stories. And I tell you, the more you go dialect, because I believe you have dialect as well
Yeah.
in yeah. So the more you go dialect, the more you understand something about the values inside of the
Mm.
blood of Italy. Yeah. But those kind of stories, they lose themselves in the history. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah. They're not romantic enough, right?
No, but for example, Giovanna d'Arco, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you know
Joan of
some.
Arc. Yes, yes, yes. We
Yeah.
I was trying to
So
remember her name. Yeah.
she was really, really tough.
Yeah.
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 Then we have tons of stories about the church, about people against the kings, about, yeah. But then they made those stories disappear. It's important that you buy a new pair of shoes, a new pair of glasses, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think let's end the discussion on the online front. We can continue, but let's call it quits for now.
So you can ask before, you can ask people if they would like we continue our discussion like a project, like
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Those who are online and those who watch this later on, uh, Caruso and I talk all the time, but we just wanted to see if it'll be something that people enjoy listening to. So if you want us to stream in the future, please let us know. And we'll do that. Or we'll just talk by ourselves. Doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Caruso. So, bye bye.